This is Summa Theologica, the second article, talking about theology. What is theology? Is it necessary? Those kinds of things. This question about theology is whether sacred doctrine, which I think is what he's calling theology, is a science, a kind of knowledge. Is what sciencia means in Latin, at least, a kind of knowledge. Objection 1. Objection 1, once again, this is what a steelman, meaning what his opponent would say, but put in favorable terms. So he's not just going to dismiss his opponent, he's going to put his opponent's statement in favorable terms. So even his opponent would agree that, yeah, that's what I think. It seems that sacred doctrine is not a science, for every science proceeds from self-evident principles. But sacred doctrine proceeds from articles of faith, which are not self-evident. I'm going to get my little marking tool, because that's interesting. Okay. Since their truth is not admitted by all, for all men have not faith, therefore sacred doctrine is not a science. I'm going to go look at his reply to that first one. The principles of any science are either in themselves self-evident or reducible to conclusions of a higher science. And such, as we have said, are the principles of sacred doctrine. They're reducible to the conclusions of a higher science. Principles of science are either themselves self-evident. If you said that before, that's not very satisfying to me because I don't remember what he said before about that. So they're applicable to some sort of higher, let's see, some sort of higher science, it says. I don't know what he's referring to there. I know that human reason can understand theology, but doesn't. So the revelation is not in contradiction to reason, but reason cannot discover it on its own. Different ways that things are knowable. Be known by the light of reason. Okay. Philosophy. I'm not quite sure. Not really sure what he's referring to there. Well, that's not satisfying to me because I don't know what he's talking about. That's a failure there. Further, no science. Well, let me read it more. The principles of any science are either in themselves self-evident or reducible. So he's saying there's some sciences don't have self-evident principles. They're principles that are reducible to the conclusions of a higher science. So I'm not sure what he's referring to there. Let's see if he sheds some light on it in this one. Further, no science deals with individual facts, but this sacred science treats of individual facts. Such as the deeds of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the like. Therefore, sacred doctrine is not a science. It seems like what he's saying here with individual facts, it seems like he's talking about like scientific facts, singularium. Maybe science is dealing with universals instead of particulars. Maybe that's what he's talking about. It's interesting. And his reply to that is, individual facts are treated of in sacred doctrine not because it is concerned with them principally, so the individual actions like what Abraham did. I think it gets some actions, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and what they were up to. That's not what really matters, but they are introduced rather both as examples to be followed by in our lives, as in moral sciences, and in order to establish the authority of those men through whom the divine revelation, on which the sacred scripture doctrine is based, has come down to us. So to establish authority and to give examples is why it gives particular examples of deeds. On the contrary, as an argument from authority, probably scriptural authority or church authority. On the contrary, Augustine says, to this science alone belongs that whereby saving faith is begotten, nourished, protected, and strengthened. But this can be said of no science except sacred doctrine. Therefore, sacred doctrine is a science. So science because Aquinas, or because Augustine said it was. Augustine was about 480, so he's writing. I answer that sacred doctrine is a science. We must bear in mind that there are two kinds of sciences. There are some which proceed from a principle known by natural light of intelligence, such as arithmetic and geometry and the like. And there are some which proceed from principles known by the light of a higher science. Thus, the science of perspective proceeds from the principles established by geometry, and music from the principles of arithmetic. A lot of people don't think of that music is a kind of math. It's math, it's numbers in motion is what music is. So it is that sacred doctrine is a science because it proceeds from the principles established by the light of a higher science, namely the science of God and the blessed. So by the science here, he's definitely using it in terms of knowledge. Modern day, we usually use science to just mean natural sciences, the study of the natural world. And a lot of people get confused into thinking that's all that exists. Hence, just as the musician accepts on authority the principles taught him by the mathematician, So sacred science is established on the principles revealed by God. So once we have the revelation of Christ, then our reason can go from there and delve further, I think is the idea. Well, that was short and sweet. I got a little bit stuck on his reply to the second objection, which he did. I guess I just got to trust Aquinas that he'll have the answer in the article. And he did say that the principle, the higher science was the revelation. It seems like that he's referring to that's reducible to conclusions of a higher science. In other words, to revelation. So thanks, Aquinas.